another reel on Instagram. My son sent me. Here we go. Jewish converted. Jewish converted 7th century. Jew actual genetic. Google it before they erase it and ban the historical. This.
Well, good thing you posted this. Because they're about to ban this. They're waiting until like 6 months.
I don't understand a lot of things in life. I don't understand this. Several things about this stand to me immediately. I think is Jewish converted 7th century. Does he really think that the person in that picture is from the 7th century? Does he really think this is a 1,400-year-old, 500-year-old picture of a guy wearing glasses and where did he get a camera? Do you mean the descendants of the modern Jews come from the 7th century? Is that what you mean? And then what's your evidence for that? It can't be Revelation, not Revelations. It can't be Revelation 2:9 and Luke 21 and Deuteronomy 28, because those texts were written centuries before the facts. It can't, once again, those texts cannot be evidence that modern day Hasidic Jews are the direct related to 7th century, because those texts were written 600 years, roughly 500-600 years before the New Testament alone. Deuteronomy was written about 1,500 years before that.
Yeah,
and then, of course, Luke 21 is the so-called Olivet Discourse. He's talking about coming to the temple, being destroyed, and they'll be scattered. What in the world does that have to do with actual genetic Jews being black? Y'all are not actual. This is a proven fact. They have done study after study after study of skeletal remains of Jewish people, or there's all the people that found remains all through the Mediterranean, and there's clear genetic markers for Jews of the period for a century, for millennia, all going back to that particular area near Canaan. I mean, that's just a fact. And those genetic variations are not in black people. There's some minor variations of certain brands of Jews, I believe some from Egypt, that have some similarity with certain parts of black people. But in general, they do not match. They cannot be. And Luke 21 has nothing to do with genetic Jews, because it says that the temple will be destroyed and people will flee. They did flee. That's nothing to do with any of that. Revelation
2:9 says, I know your affliction and your poverty, though you are rich. I am aware of the slander of those who falsely claim.
Yeah, Revelation 2:9.
And the synagogue of Satan.
Yeah, the synagogue of Satan. Of course, this is why reading the Bible matters so much. I mean, it saves you from really bad ideas like this. Revelation 2, which apocalyptic literature was written to the first portion to the 7 churches of Asia Minor. And there he gives both praise and sometimes, he's judging them. They need to stop their behavior. And in this particular section, he's saying that he's criticizing particularly Jews of a particular area. I believe it's Smyrna, the synagogue of Satan. And it's a slamming word. It's a bad word for people who think they're acting Jewish, but not really acting Jewish, because if you really acted Jewish, they would believe that Jesus is the Messiah. It's an intramural debate, and that's what they had. It has nothing to do with 7th century Jews or black people. Revelation 3, even Deuteronomy 28, which is the classic place to go to for black Hebrew, Zion, whatever theology. Deuteronomy 28, which is, of course, way before Revelation was composed. Deuteronomy is a long text which basically restates the law that you have in Exodus, which is why it's called Deuteronomos from the Latin, which is from the Greek, means second law. It's basically a second iteration of the law. But in Deuteronomy, more so than even Exodus has this, but Deuteronomy has a lot of sections a few major sections where, like chapter 28, where it outlines all the things that will happen good for you if you keep the law, the so-called Mosaic covenant, but it wasn't a covenant with Moses, but with Israel, the Sinaitic covenant. And there's a long list of things that will be bad for you if you break the covenant. So Deuteronomy 28 is a long section of things that will happen if you break the covenant that Jews had under Moses' leadership, 1500 BC, roughly. I mean, this is centuries. And in that list in Deuteronomy 28, it talks about how they'll be scattered. Basically, that God will use foreign nations to take the Israelites out. And that's exactly what happened on more than one occasion. That has nothing to do with black people. It has nothing to do with Africa. It has nothing to do with the slave trade. Nothing. There's not a single word about that at all in Deuteronomy. So I don't know if this persuades people or not. And if it does persuade you, I'm not sure I don't know what it would take to dissuade you of this kind of stuff. These texts have nothing to do with these concepts at all. So I do ask you, I, like this person, encourage you to Google it. I guess it means Google the references. But you won't find Revelations, because that's not a real book. Look at Revelation 2:9, like he does in the bottom of Revelation 3:9. That's correct. So look up that, Deuteronomy 28, Luke 20, and you'll see for yourself. You see if black people or Africans appear in any of these texts. They don't. And English, Hebrew, Greek, that translation not going to be there. So I do encourage you, if this intrigues you at all, to read the biblical text, and of course you can ultimately get a degree in it. But there are great texts on how to read the Bible well and genre. And the genre matters. Literary type does matter, and history matters, and words matter. And that helps us not believe things like that. It helps us not get confused about meaning of concepts. Anyway, some quick thoughts on that. I say more about genre in both my books, The Skeptic Challenges a Christian, and in Rediscover Jesus, where I talk about the genres of the gospel in particular. And I hope you'll check those out. God bless you. See you next time.